Hey everybody, it's Monika and welcome to my channel where I help social workers, counselors, and helping professionals deepen their level of self-awareness while boosting their competence and confidence in the profession. Now, I noticed that one of my videos, 7 Truths About Being a Social Worker, has been doing really well, and you all seem to really enjoy that video. So because I've been working in this field for so long, I wanted to share 5 more truths that I think will be helpful for you if you're looking to transition into the social work profession. So if you're interested in this video, then please keep watching. I'm Monika Thomas, the founder and clinical social worker at Kindred Connections Therapy Center. I've been a social worker for over 12 years. I decided to do an entire YouTube channel on my journey from cubicle working social worker to successful entrepreneur. Welcome to my channel. So some of you all shared some really good truths with me in the comment section. So I was thinking, I know that there are other social workers who will find this information valuable, so why don't I just share it with my whole audience? So I want to talk about 5 truths that you should consider if you're wanting to become a social worker. So number 1. Oftentimes when you come into this profession, you're working with individuals who sometimes lack social skills, lack life skills, and you are expected to be the person who teaches them those life skills. But one of the things that you're not oftentimes told is that it's expected that you possess those skills yourself, or that you have the capacity to teach those skills in order to help your clients be successful. So that means sometimes you might assist your clients with needing help with budgeting or cleaning, or coming up with a routine for their children. Situations where if you've not had experience in those things, or if you don't have a certain level of expertise, then it can be very difficult to create a plan for your clients as it relates to cleaning their home, finding a home, home ownership, finding daycare centers within your community if you've not had experience doing that. So just know, if you become a social worker, that there are certain life skills that you're going to be expected to be able to teach your client. So maybe you're someone who struggles with budgeting, or you don't have a budget yourself, or you struggle with paying your bills on time. If there are things in your life that you struggle with, it might be difficult for you to be able to teach your client how to be successful in those areas of their life. So you want to do a really good job of assessing where your skill sets are so that you can set your clients up for success. Number 2. You will be expected to be a problem solver. All of the answers won't clearly be laid out. There will be some gray areas, and there'll be some areas where you just don't know what decision to make. It's totally normal, but know that in high pressure, high risk, high stress environments, traumatic environments, sometimes you will be looked to be the voice of reason, to be able to make sound decisions and firm decisions that have a high level of insight and a high level of judgment. So just know, when your clients are in crisis, you'll be the one who will be looked to help figure things out. So what that means for you is you have to analyze and assess your ability to hold and manage stress. You have to have a really good idea about your window of tolerance. And you also need to know what your triggers are, and then what things in your life cause increased stress, increased overwhelm, and anxiety. Because if you're dealing with the stress of your own life and then trying to manage the stress of your client's life, it can really increase the level of burnout that you might experience in the profession. Hey everybody, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, or share it. Also, be sure to click the notification bell because I upload a new video every Monday. And make sure you check out the Afrocentric Social Worker podcast. You can check that out on all the major podcasting platforms. The link to the podcast can be found below in the description. Number 3, if you're working at your local CSB or Child Services Bureau or Child Protection Agency, one of the things that social workers might not know when you go into that role is that you are acting and functioning as the child's guardian if they're in the care of the state. So what that means is, when a child comes into custody through Children's Services, that means that their parent has been found to be abusive, neglectful, or the child has been found to be dependent. And that means that the county agency has needed to step in to provide care and support for the child. And if there are no family members who are making the decisions for the child, then you as the Children's Services worker will be called in to make decisions on behalf of the child. That means you'll have to sign documents as if you are the parent. You will be responsible for enrolling the child in school. You will handle all of their affairs as if you were their legal guardian. And for some of you who are just now coming into the field, some of you might not even have children of your own. So know that this is a parental responsibility that you will have to do in the role. Number 4, If you are working with families whose lives are frequently in crisis, or things are not working out for them, or that the bottom is seeming to fall out of situations in their lives, you can expect to be triggered by certain things that happen within the lives of your family. It doesn't mean that you don't have good boundaries or that you're not a good social worker. What it can potentially mean is that there are some unhealed aspects of your life that are being re-triggered when you're having engagements and interactions with your clients. So you have to be mindful around what those things are for you. So if you have triggers around sexual assault, if you have triggers around domestic violence or being talked to or treated like a child, if you have triggers around being a parentified child, or if you have triggers around being in foster care, you have to know what those triggers are for you, because that can show up in your work and how you interact with your client. And one of the things that I always tell social workers when I'm working with them is you have to be careful about transference and countertransference. And we could talk about that a little bit more in another video. Transference being when a client redirects feelings or emotions that are intended for someone else onto the social worker or the therapist. Countertransference is a reaction to the client's transference, where the counselor or the social worker unconsciously projects their feelings onto the client. So being mindful of your triggers, being mindful of the things that increase anxiety, sadness, depression, and frustration will really help you be able to be grounded and centered and present for your client, so that you're not making the sessions or the interactions more about you than they are about the client's situation. And number 5, I think this point is important for seasoned social workers who've been in the field for a long time, just as well as it is for social workers who are coming into the profession or those considering the profession. And what that is you want to make sure that you're not working harder than your client. Now, that might be hard to hear. Some people might disagree with that, but I want to go into a little bit of depth about what that could mean for you. So what that could look like is if you have a client who is in recovery, if you have a client who is trying to get their children back, maybe their children were removed from their care, or if you have a client who's in a domestic violence relationship, or a client who is struggling with their depression. One of the things that you have to be mindful of doing is if you find yourself doing more work for the client than they're willing to do for their own care. And what that means is instead of the client calling to see about their affairs, setting up appointments, doing things for themselves, you find yourself taking on every aspect of the client's life. And you might be saying, well, isn't that my role as a social worker, is to help support the client and to initiate the things that they need for their lives? Yes and no. One of the things that you have to be mindful of is, one, creating room for your client to be able to do their own level of self-discovery, and for clients to have a certain degree of self-efficacy. What that means is their ability to believe that they have what it takes to make the changes in their lives. If you're handling and managing all the pieces and parts of their case plan or of their ISP or of their goals, you're really not able to assess what their capacity is to be able to hold difficult things when you're not around. Because ideally, you want to be able to equip them with the skills, the language, the resources, the understanding to be able to manage things on their own. What you do is you come alongside them, you work with them to help them understand how processes work, to help them know who they need to call, to help them understand if they get into a difficult situation, these are some steps that they can take. You help them begin to problem solve for themselves, but you don't take on the weight and responsibility of solving the problem for them. Because in that moment, what you do is you rob them of the ability to tap into their own intuition, their own knowledge, and to use their own executive functioning skills to be able to solve problems. So you always want to be in a role where you're supporting the client, where you're encouraging them, where you're giving them resources and supports, but you're also assessing their capacity to hold and manage things on their own. And when you see that they have gaps and holes in areas of their lives where they continue to struggle, that's when you can come in and assist them with resources and supports and additional understanding and psychoeducation around what they're struggling with. But you definitely don't want to take on the full weight of managing and holding solving their problems. And oftentimes, for most of you, you all have so many clients anyway, and your caseloads are so high, it would totally stress you out to even take on that level of responsibility. So save yourself the headache, save yourself the work, save yourself the burnout so that you can show up fully and wholly for all of your clients. I hope you found this information helpful today. If you did, please like, subscribe, or share. I'll be releasing more videos to help you deepen your level of self-awareness and to boost your competence and confidence in the profession. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, be well.